So we have been doing now the long lecture by Mr. Narad on this riddle of this world, on this riddle of the world. Well, he has systematically developed the whole argument, and he's answering practically point by point all the questions which Savitri's mother had raised. Perhaps he is not only answering what she had asked him, but he is also telling us something more than that. You see, some of the prophetic lines of what is going to happen in the context of Savitri's work in the future, that also he is indicating. So it's a full answer, and we can roughly divide the whole of his answer into 5 categories. These are the 5 categories in which we can say that he is answering point by point each of these themes, each of these issues in that long lecture. The total number of sentences directly connected with the answer with the Queen is 141, total number of sentences. And the first point which he makes is the necessity of pain. Why in this world pain is necessary? Pain is the hammer of God to sculpt the soul of man. Without pain, inconscience would not get waken up and things would not move. So the necessity of pain is what he is actually hammering into our minds. Don't complain about pain, it is necessary because you are in that state, and feel lucky that due to pain you will be able to make progress. So in that sense, pain is a very good thing, very beneficial thing, very helpful thing. Then in the same context, pain is not only the soul of man who bears, but it is also borne by the divine himself. He comes here as avatar and makes a mysterious sacrifice and bears the pain of this creation. He bears the pain of this creation. He makes the sacrifice, and the example which he gives, so to say, or the occasion which he uses to explain the mysterious sacrifice of the avatar, the occasion which he uses is the crucifixion of Christ. So there is a long description of the entire crucifixion of Christ, its significance, its importance, and what it is going to achieve. That as if God has to pay debt to man. He has to pay debt to man, and as a result of that, he is there to sacrifice himself, bear the pain, bear the suffering, bear the misery of this creation. That is what the avatar does it, you see. Without that, in fact, the fall of man, Adam and Eve being driven out of Eden, is due to the sin of man. Of course, that sin was necessary. It was necessary that the couple was driven out of the paradise. Otherwise, they would have got stuck where they were. They would not have made progress at all. But in order to now pay the price of their sin, the avatar comes, Christ comes, crucifies himself to absolve mankind from man, from the sin he has committed. So that is a mysterious sacrifice he does. The whole scene is very beautifully described in this particular section. So first, necessity of pain has 21 sentences. Mysterious sacrifice has 32 sentences. Then world redeemer's task. So that is the sacrifice. He has come here, but he has to also redeem the world of its ignorance, of its miserable condition and all that. And he elaborates that point, word Redeemer's task, in 37 sentences. Then he also tells Savitri's mother, the queen, rather man, yes, there is pain. Yes, the word Redeemer also has come here. But man should not take a hasty path. He should not take the Titan's road to achieve what he cannot achieve at this point. In order to do something which is good for him, he should go through the slow process of evolution, because he will not be in a position to bear the load of what is to come here. And therefore, he should not make haste, he should not be kind of possessive of the qualities of heaven. Do not take Titan's path. Do not try to grab heaven and bring it down here. Let it kind of grow in you. That is what is a Titan's path. So there he is describing the whole thing in 35 sentences. And then he explains the occult necessity of the mortal birth. Why soul has chosen this condition of mortality. Soul was happy in its transcendental world. It would have remained happy all the while also. But then it saw a shadow of the truth cast in the inconscience here. And it kind of became curious of that shadow. What is this shadow? Let me see what it is. The soul became curious of that, and then it plunged down into this shadow. I mean, that is the kind of a way of speaking, but unless that plunge takes place, the shadow cannot be lifted up. So it is a functional curiosity, so to say, of the soul taking a plunge into the shadow in order to relieve the shadow. So soul's choice, it is soul's choice. You have chosen this mortal world. You have to undergo through all these things. It is through the process of mortality you will really achieve the thing for which you have taken this mortal birth. You are here to establish truth in the world of falsehood. You are here to establish immortality in the world of death. So this is what you are here for, and the soul has chosen that choice, and soul is willing to undergo all kinds of difficulties on the path. If it has to bear the anguish, it will bear the anguish. So he is justifying the choice of the soul. So these are the essential 5 points by which Narad is answering the queen's riddle. Why this word is like that? Is it your God? He is answering in all those things in the 141 sentences here. And then, of course, after that, until then, Ashwapati remains quiet. All along, all through, of course, Savitri does not speak even a single word. When she has said, yes, I have chosen, done, finished. When she has said that, she is not going to speak even a single word after that. It is a question between now her parents and the guest. Let them talk out whatever they want to do, you see. And that is what is going to happen, you see. So, the Savitri keeps quiet, but Ashwapati then asks a certain question, an important question, and in response to that, again, Narad replies. Actually, he is not really asking a question. He is rather seeking that the power of truth which is there in Narad's word gets established here. And therefore, he is sort of posing that question, you see. That we shall see later on as we come to that point. But at the moment, his first task is to satisfy the curiosity of the queen. And that is what you have here, you see, in all these things. You see. Satisfy, well, he has really solved the entire the riddle of this world in his whole business, you see, completely, you see. Why all that thing? So, what Shendu wrote to Maurice Margery in about 7 or 8 pages there is now running into 141 sentences here through the mouth of Narad, basically. That is the big occasion he has created. Then, so we'll go back to our text and see. So now first point here is now we have already covered last time the necessity of pain along this one. Now we are moving to the next point, the sacrifice of the divine or the sacrifice of the Purusha, second point. And we are seeing how the ancient mother is striving for the whole thing. Yeah, Narad was saying that men die that man may live and God be born. That is what we have got. Well, in other words, you may say that men are mortal. Men are mortal. But man is immortal. He continues. It's like in the morning there is a flower on the tree, it dies in the evening, but next time again the flower comes up. So the flower, that particular flower may die, but the flowering is a continuous thing. It goes on. The tree flowers are there. Pain is the hand of nature, sculpturing men to greatness. An inspired labor chisels with heavenly cruelty and unwilling mold. Yes, chisels with heavenly cruelty. See, heaven is graciously cruel. Otherwise, we would have got stuck with what we are, you see. It is an act of grace that heaven is cruel to us, you see. Heaven does not become emotional, my child, my this thing, my that thing, etc., like that, because there is a purpose in that thing, and it is sort of seized all the while with that purpose. And unwilling mold, unwilling obviously because we are born of our inconscient stuff, nature. It has its own slow pace, but it resists any change, and that is why it is unwilling. Implacable in the passion of the will, lifting the hammers of titanic toil, the demiurges of the universe work. So that is what the demiurges, there is something always in us which prompts us to do something all the while. They shape with giant strokes their own. Their suns are marked with an enormous stamp of fire. Now this is the beginning of the description of the sacrifice. Their suns are marked with an enormous stamp of fire. Stamp of fire there stands for demiurges. Although the shaping God's tremendous touch is torture unbearable to mortal nerves, the fiery spirit grows in strength within and feels a joy in every titan pang. So maybe our outward nature suffers and grumbles and cries and weeps and all that thing, but not the spirit within. Not the spirit within. The fiery spirit grows within. That is the important thing. The fiery spirit grows within. By the hammer of God, it grows. See.
Physical pain or psychological pain? Or
because of pain, because of this hammer of God.
Is this physical pain?
Yeah.
You're talking about physical pain.
Yeah.
Or mental pain.
No. It is very anguish within us.
So it's mental pain.
Yeah.
Not physical.
Not necessarily. Physical, mental is a small manner thing, you see. No, that is really nothing. It is within. See, we feel inwardly sorrow, happy, unhappy, you see, within it. It is that which grows.
So this is mental.
It is not mental alone. It is not mental, it's not battle, it's not physical pain. No, no. It is the spirit itself, the soul itself sort of feels sorry, happy, unhappy about this thing. But in that process it grows. It grows. By that process it grows. The fiery spirit grows in strength within. The soul becomes stronger. The soul becomes stronger. If there is an attack, well, if it can bear the attack, if it can fight it out, it really grows stronger, you see, in that process. It is the soul which grows, the spirit which grows, and feels a joy, obviously. Because it grows, therefore there is joy. Because it feels the growth possible, he has joy of it. Essentially, it is the spirit which grows. In other words, our outward nature may suffer. Outward nature made of everything, the physical, the mental, the vital, and all that thing, that may suffer, and it does suffer. But within, there is something which grows. And it grows, and in that growth, it feels joy also. So that is the kind of an introduction to the sacrifice the avatar is going to make, you see. He who would save himself lives bare and calm. Well, of course, the avatar who comes here and takes the human birth, the mortal birth. He who takes the mortal birth. You can say that, of course, he is not speaking specifically about Christ, but the later context would say that this he refers to Christ. This he refers to. He who would save himself lives bare and calm. Of course, in the immediate context, this he stands for Savitri. In the immediate context, that he stands for Savitri. Yes, she has to suffer. She has to bear the agony of the death of her husband. But she will always remain calm. She has to remain calm. In the immediate context of the story, that he stands for she. He who would save the race must share its pain. Now this is more generalized, you see. It is not for himself that he is bearing the pain. He is bearing it for the sake of the race, to save the race. He is bearing that pain, the suffering, not for himself, but for the sake. He who would save the race must share its pain. Obviously, unless you participate in the suffering of man, how can that suffering be redeemed? Does the divine suffer when he takes the mortal birth? Yes, of course he does, although he is divine, because he has identified himself with the mortal birth. He has to experience the anguish of the mortality. He has to do. This he shall know who obeys that grandiose urge. Obviously, because there is an urge, therefore he suffers, doesn't mind. The great who came to save the suffering world and rescue out of time's shadow the law must pass beneath the yoke of grief and pain. They are caught by the wheel that they had hoped to break. On their shoulders they must bear man's load of fate. So this is what the Redeemer, the divine who comes here to sacrifice, to pay the debt of man, he has to do that thing. And the great, now he says the great. In fact, Buddha is there, Christ is there. They are the great. Avatars are there. They have suffered. Actually, Sri Aurobindo writes in one of his letters that he is doing a work which is difficult and painful. He wrote in 1912 in a letter to Motilal Roy that the work which he is doing is a difficult and painful work. Painful work. He has to bear, that is the greatness, he has to bear the things. And of course, on the Samadhi, we have the message now. To thee who has been the material for master, who bore all pain, all difficulties, all suffering for us. She is addressing to Sri Aurobindo's body there, who suffered for us, who willed everything for us. It is for him. Suffered. We have no idea. We have really no idea the opposite aspect. They are even the great who came to save the suffering world and rescue out of time, shadow, and the law of mortality. The law of mortality, time, shadow. Time, shadow is a very beautiful phrase. Perhaps it looks more beautiful if it is put in the Sanskrit. Kala, chaya. Chaya means shadow. Kala, time. Kala, chaya. He is a being, Kala, and his shadow is there. Kala, chaya. And the law here opposes the law of death, the inexorable law of mortality. That is what he has to rescue out of that thing. He has to bear that thing, you see. And he says, must pass by the yoke of grief and pain. So Savitri, if she is great, she can't escape that. If she wants to save the race, she can't escape that. They are caught by the wheel that they had hoped to break. On their shoulders they must bear man's load of fate. Of course, he speaks here of the shoulders they must bear man's load of fate. It is the cross which he has to bear and carry on his shoulders. He has to carry that cross on his shoulders. Heavy cross. Heaven's riches they bring, their sufferings count the price, or they pay the gift of knowledge with their lives. Heaven's riches they bring. What are the riches they brought? Rama, the avatar, he brought the Manomaya Purusha, the thinking man, the mental being. That is the gift he has brought. He suffered. He was in the exile for 12, 14 years. He suffered for that. What did he bring? The mental being. The appearance of man is because of that sacrifice. Mental being. That is the heaven's rich. Krishna, what did he bring? He brought the overmind consciousness in the working for the world. Overmind consciousness. Buddha, what did he bring? Compassion. That is the heaven's gift he brought. Compassion for mankind, for humanity, for everybody. Compassion. Christ, what did he bring? Love. Love for humanity. Love for God's creation. It is that he brought. So we have got, these people have come, the great have come, and they have given all these gifts to man. Heaven's riches, these are the riches they had brought down. Over mind, compassion, love, these are the great images. Krishna, Buddha, Christ. Sri Aurobindo mentions these as the avatars in the essays of the Gita. He speaks of them specifically. Krishna, Christ, Buddha. They brought these riches, you see. And then of course there are other great souls also. The prophet, they brought also something. They suffered for that. the idea of brotherhood, that is the foundation of Islam. They brought it. He brought it, you see. He suffered for that also. There's no doubt about that. So this is the thing which they had to do. They had to pay for that, you see. The life, if you take the ordinary life, so to say, was a life of suffering for them. You see. And of course, you have in the Jewish traditions, many of these prophets who have done great works. You see. So heaven's riches they bring, their sufferings count the price. Yes, they have paid. Or they pay the gift of knowledge with their life. Now, this is something different than heaven's riches. Gift of knowledge. It is not our mind, it is not compassion, it is not love, it is knowledge. That is the gift of knowledge which Srivandu has brought. That is the gift of knowledge which Srivandu has brought. They pay the gift of knowledge with their life. And you know, he was writing Arya for 7 years. And later on, when somebody asked him, he said that I would have continued to write Arya not for 7 years, but 70 years. And even then, my knowledge would not have been exhausted. Gift of knowledge. Now, we don't know how much we have missed. Yeah, but I think now he has packed everything here in Savitri. Now he comes to something more specific. The Son of God, born as the Son of Man, has drunk the bitter cup. Oh, Goddess debt. The debt eternal owes to the fallen kind. His will has bound to death and struggling life, yet yearns in vain for rest and endless peace. The Son of God. Well, this is of course the biblical phrase, Son of God. Now the reference is becoming more and more specific to Christ. The whole description is coming to Christ, the Son of God. Son of God. We have the appearance of Son of God. Number of places in Bible. We'll see some of them. In Luke 1.35. And the angel answered and said unto her, the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, about the Christ, upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also that holy things which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God. It is describing the incarnation of Christ. Very vivid description, you see. This utterance cannot come without some kind of mystical realization. He has that mystical realization. He has that mystical realization. And the angel answered and said unto her, the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, take birth upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also that holy thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God. St. John, let us see some of them, it's interesting. St. John 5:18. Therefore, the Jews sought the more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but said also that God was his Father. He claimed that God was his Father. He not only broke Sabbath, but also claimed that he was the Son of God, making himself equal with God. Now, this is, I think, a little too much, no? I mean, he is my father, it does not mean that I am his equal. It doesn't mean that I am his equal. Pardon me? Yeah. I mean, I can understand he is my father, but that does not make me equal to him. So that thing, I think, is a little bit of an exaggeration. What do you say? Yeah. It needs a clarification.
Identification with God and physical.
It's impossible. See, it's impossible. Yeah. You cannot be equal to him. You cannot be.
When the ego is totally
See, even the mother herself has said, Shemendo is the emanation of the Supreme. She says he is not the Supreme. She says he is the direct emanation of the Supreme. Direct emanation, not the Supreme. You see? So that way, I think this is a little too much. Yeah. So, but well, I mean, and this is coming from a very big saint, Saint John. You see, he is one of the greatest mystics of Christianity. You see. Okay, let us read one more of his. 5:25, 5:25. I think. I don't know whether I can say that. They may kill me. If I say Bible is saying too much, what do you say? If it is the case of Islam, they will definitely, they'll, yeah,
Blasphemy laws.
yeah.
That the Savior will be born again. They are really
But
killed.
I think it is a religious approach, because in religious approach you have God and creation, but in yoga you have at the moment identification with
Yeah, identification. That does not mean that you are not he. You are still a part of him. You are not him.
You're always a part.
But him is not different from essentially us, each other.
Identification is one thing. Yeah.
Today I will have identification, I will know.
See, well, it's like saying the same thing, but it may not be a very good example. It's like saying a drop of water in the ocean. Well, it is a part of the ocean, but it is still a drop. It is not the ocean.
As long as there is an ego,
Yeah.
it's a drop, but when it's mixed with the ocean, it's
So it's no more water then. It's no more drop, you see.
no more drop.
But then we can't talk of him then. Then that would mean Laya, dissolving. His identity, his individuality won't be there then. Let us see what does it say here. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of God. Very powerful sentence. The dead shall hear the voice of the Son of God, and that they shall, and that hear shall live. When they hear the voice of the Son of God, the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of God, and they shall live. They shall live. This is a great truth. Son of God. So like that, there are a number of instances about the Son of God, what we have got here. The Son of God is you. Now, in Savitri itself, we have something different, slightly different. 89.12. 89.12. Now the Divine Mother is addressing Ashwapati. The rendezvous is there between Ashwapati and the Divine Mother. And she is addressing him. And she says, O son of strength, 89.12. O son of strength. Ashwapati is addressed as the son of strength. Son of God. You see, son of God has a different connotation than son of truth. Son of God. Ashwapati here is son of strength. Shaktimana Putra. Shaktimana Putra means son. Shaktiman, full of strength. He is that. The divine Shakti working in him. Later on again, in another place in Savitri itself, we have got, he is addressed as son of force. Son of strength, son of force. Like that, Ashwapati. Now, this son of strength is also a Vedic phrase. Vedic phrase. Agni is addressed as the son of strength. Fire, the divine fire, is the son of strength. Son of strength, Agni. It is the force of Agni, therefore we can say, which is what Ashwapati is. When she says son of God, son of force, son of strength, it means that he is divine Agni himself who has taken the mortal birth. Now, in the case of divine Agni, there is a greater occult intimacy of his taking a human birth. Agni itself is there, he is coming out, so to say. So there is a kind of an occult intimacy, connection, directness, which is there between man and the divine, which is within us. Whereas here, the Son of God, as if he is coming from somewhere else here, as if he is not a part of ourselves who is Son. To a certain extent. So, Son of God, born as the Son of Man, this is what we have seen in the Bible, you see, has drunk the bitter cup. Now, of course, this bitter cup, he is talking of the great, no, earlier, the great, he is talking of the great. The bitter cup, of course, Christ didn't drink the bitter cup. Buddha didn't drink, Krishna didn't drink the bitter cup. The bitter cup refers to Socrates. It refers to Socrates, the great Socrates. It refers to Socrates. Hemlock is drinking. Hemlock, he drank the hemlock, cup of hemlock, you see. He was he a son of God? Well, this is what it means. He is not son of God, the great. See, he is not specifically, see. See, there are so many references, allusions coming, he is not describing the complete scene of Christ's crucifixion. In the whole process, he is taking the entire history of how the great sacrifice is done by various people. All the sacrifices are as if getting quintessence in one sacrifice. Must pass beneath the yoke of grief and pain. Yoke, he is not carrying the yoke really, he is carrying the cross. You see. They are caught by the wheel. Wheel. Well, wheel is samsara chakra, the wheel of the world. Samsara chakra, going round and round, caught again. Come here, take birth, do something, die. Come here, do something, die. You are caught constantly like that. Samsara chakra, you see, wheel. Chakra means wheel. See. Time, kala chakra. The another word is for that, kala chakra. Kala chakra. See. So we are caught in that. Wheel, of course, has a more direct connection with the Buddha. He speaks of the wheel. You are caught in the cycles of time. That is what the wheel is. Heaven's riches they bring, their sufferings count the price, or they pay the gift of knowledge. The gift of knowledge, this is definitely referring to himself, you see. The Son of God, born the Son of Man, has drunk the bitter cup, owned the goddess death. Now this own the goddess death. So while the first part is a reference to Socrates, to a part of Greek history, the other one, goddess debt, is a reference to Christianity. Christianity, Christian theology. God comes here to pay the debt. It is by taking the sin of man on himself that man is redeemed. Man has committed sin, and therefore he takes the birth and accepts the sin's penalty. The debt the eternal owes to the fallen kind. Now this fallen kind, that is a great fall from paradise. Fall from paradise. You were driven out of paradise, you see. Paradise lost. Fallen kind. Because he had disobeyed God. He was told not to eat the forbidden fruit, you see. But he ate that forbidden fruit. He didn't really eat, his wife. But then he fell into the trap, love trap, and he also ate, and then driven out, you see. Fallen kind. And it is for that. In fact, it was necessary for him to eat the fruit of knowledge. Otherwise, he would have got stuck there where he was. He would have got stuck there, you see. Get up early in the morning, do your rounds of work and all that thing in the Garden of Eden, and then again, next morning, goes on and on for ages and ages and ages. No issue there, no worry, no progress, no progress, yeah. Would have got stuck there, you see. So, in order to break that kind of a monotony, it was necessary to do something radical. So, in a certain sense, we can say that the Satan had really played a very significant role. You see, although it may look to us rather evil and bad and all that, but he made you awake. Please get out and do something now, you see. The mechanism was found. His will has bound to death and struggling life that yearns in vain for rest and endless peace. Now is the debt paid, wiped off the original score. Yes, he has come, he has sacrificed himself, and the law of love got established. Actually, what is the thing which has happened really after Christ? There was great spirituality, great realizations were there earlier, great thing. But the real psychic opening in operation came after Christ. Came after Christ. The real psychic opening in the collective consciousness. It got perverted, that's a different story altogether. It got abrogated by wrong forces, dogmatism, that is another part. But what has really happened in the occult sense is the psychic has opened out in the collective. The whole history of the last 2000 years compared with the previous history of Greek, or Buddhism, or Indian, Vedic, or whatever you want to call Chinese, see, it is full of spiritual realizations and attainments and tantric practices and whatnot. But the psychic love, which has to come and express itself, was not there with that intensity and with that directness. It is that which came out with the sacrifice, with the presence of Christ, love. The whole bhakti movement which we have got here, the Indian tradition really flourished in a great way with the bhakti movement. And new yoga has come to man, to an ordinary man, to a common man. Through bhakti, he can approach God and identify himself with God. So it is that bhakti yoga which really got established by this avataric presence of Christ. Bhakti did not come with Buddha, with Krishna in that sense. It was spiritual of a different kind, but here is a different thing altogether. The eternal suffers in a human form. He has signed salvation testament with his blood. Now he is really talking of his blood. You see. Somebody at the end, the soldier pierces his body with a spear, and the blood oozes out from the body of Christ. And it is with that blood the testament was signed. He has opened the doors of his undying peace. Is Savitri going to do all that? She need not. She has already been done. She has to go further than that. Her work is of a different type, much different. The deity compensates the creature's claim. The creator bears the law of pain and death. A retribution smites the incarnate God. So that is the punishment the avatar bears. Retribution smites the incarnate God. See, what a poignant picture it is, you see. A retribution smites the incarnate God. His love has paved the martyr's road to heaven. His love has paved the martyr's road to heaven. Now it is this Bhakti Yoga which has now opened out new path of realization. Bhakti Yoga, that is the new road, is love. He has given his life and light to balance here the dark account of mortal ignorance. Somebody has to pay the price for this ignorance. And here is a sacrifice himself. That is the sacrifice of the Purusha he is talking now. Now, there is a very direct reference to Christ's crucifixion. It is finished. That is from the Bible. This phrase is literally lifted from the Bible. It is finished. The dread, mysterious sacrifice. Now, the dread, mysterious sacrifice. You see, the poet is very clever also. While he is talking of the sacrifice of Christ, it is finished. The dread, mysterious sacrifice, he is talking of himself also. Yes, the work for which he has come here, that work has been accomplished. It is finished. That work has been accomplished by the dread, mysterious sacrifice. That is what has happened on 5th December 1950. That is the dread, mysterious sacrifice. And with that sacrifice, it is finished. With that sacrifice, it is finished. He had gathered the supramental force in his body and fixed it here by withdrawing from the body. So it kind of got trapped here in this world, in this physical, the supramental force. It got trapped here fully. It cannot, in the occult sense, it is locked in the physical, the supramental force. That is the mysterious sacrifice. And it must have been really very dreadful. We don't know. You see. We have no idea. That is it. And with that, it is finished. Within 5-6 years of that, the supermind descended in the subtle physical of the earth on 29th February 1956. Yes, it is finished. Whatever had to be done is done. The rest now will go on. So, see, one can read double sense while he is talking of the sacrifice of Christ. It is also autobiographical. So, in that sense, offered by God's martyr body for the world, yes, he has done that. Of course, we can directly read this description in terms of Christ's crucifixion scene. But Gethsemane and Calvary are his lot of the Savior. He carried the cross on which man's soul is nailed. This is a direct reference to Christ now, see. He carried the cross on which man's soul is nailed. Now, this is important. He carries on cross on which, he doesn't say he carries the cross on which his soul is nailed. He doesn't say that his soul is nailed. Man's soul is nailed. He is carrying the cross for man, for the soul of man, not for himself. Not for himself. See, each word is so, what shall I say? Packed with meaning and contents, you see. He doesn't say, an ordinary person would have said, his soul is nailed. No, man's soul. He carried the cross on which man's soul is nailed. His escort is the curses to the crowd. Well, this is the Via Dolorosa on which he is going, and there are people on both sides and jeering and sneering and all that. You see, his escort curses to the crowd. You said that you will be able to save the world, but you cannot save yourself. That is jeering, you see. Insult and jeer are his right's acknowledgement. 2 thieves slain within mock his mighty death. What an irony, you see. There are very, very beautiful paintings of this whole crucifixion scene. Christ here, one thief here, another thief here, and that kind of a thing, you see. 2 thieves slain with him, mock his mighty death. So they are mocking at him. You came to save the world, and you cannot save yourself. You are now standing on the cross here, you see. They are mocking at him, you see. It is finished. Let us read something from. Pardon me? You want to read? Huh? You know it? You don't want to read? Yeah, we'll just read something. Yeah. Okay, let us read St. John to start with, 1930. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he is on the cross, and he was feeling thirsty. Vinegar. Pardon? Yeah, vinegar. Yeah, vinegar. He says vinegar. He said, "It is finished." He was feeling thirsty. Somebody thrust a sponge of vinegar, soaked in vinegar, into his mouth. And then he said, "It is finished." It is finished. Now, this "it is finished" means what? See, this is a very mysterious phrase again here also. It means that his thirst was not really quenched. He wanted more of it, but the sponge is not containing more of vinegar. It is finished. Or that whatever he wanted to do here, that work is done and it is finished. And the satisfaction lies in drinking the vinegar and satisfying himself. So "it is finished" has both the meanings there, see. Physically, as if he wanted more of it, but it's not there. It is finished. But then he says, and he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. The ghost, the body, left. Body. Gave up the ghost. It is finished. The dread, mysterious sacrifice, you see. St. Mark, let us see what St. Mark says. St. Mark 15:34. This is a long description, but we'll not go into that, you see. And saith unto them, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful unto death. Tarry ye here and watch. And he went forward a little, Christ, and fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him, that he would die. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Ilva, Ilva, Lama, Sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Yeah, but I think most vivid is St. Matthew. Yeah, and shout the 9th hour, and about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? In fact, that is what we'll be seeing shortly. He who had trod with bleeding brow the Saviour's way, he has trod with bleeding brow the Saviour's way. He who has found his identity with God pays with the body's death his soul's vast light. His knowledge immortal triumphs by his death. These 3 lines are extremely powerful lines. He who has found his identity with God pays with the body's death his soul's vast light. His knowledge immortal triumphs by his death. And then he says, you'll quarter the scaffold as he falls his crucified voice proclaimed, I am God. Yes, all is God. Peace back, heaven's deathless call. My God. Really? Yeah. Now, these three lines are extremely significant. He who has found his identity with God, he is describing the crucifixion scene. In the context of the sacrifice the divine makes for man. And then we have these three lines here. These three lines were added at the last minute of the dictation of Savitri. Around 15th November 1950, 2 or 3 weeks before Sri Aurobindo withdrawal, he had dictated 3 passages in the Book of Fate. Absolutely the last dictation, and one of the passages consists of these 3 lines. These are the passage which added by him around 15th November 1950. Well, actually, if you read this passage, this whole thing, 2 thieves slain with him mock his mighty death. He has trod with bleeding brow the Saviour's way. Hewn, quartered on the scaffold as he falls, his crucified voice proclaimed, I am God. Yes, all is God. Peace back, heavens, death is God. The continuity is there. You don't need these 3 lines at all. To see the flow of the description, you don't need these 3 lines at all, you see. In the context of the crucifixion scene, he has trod with bleeding brow the Saviour's way, and then hewn, quartered, etc., etc. Peace back, heaven's deathless cry, call. Now, these 3 lines, as I said, are significant from the point of view of Sri Aurobindo's withdrawal on 5th December 1950. The decision was already taken. He who has found his identity with God pays with body's death. He has to withdraw from the physical. Soul's vast light. When he withdraws, what happens then? His knowledge immortal triumphs by his death. It is a knowledge now which will do whatever has got to be done. So this is important. He says, his knowledge immortal triumphs by his death. It is that which will triumph in the sequence of things. Had it been directly connected with Christ, these 3 lines, as they appear here, he would have said, his love immortal triumphs by his death. He doesn't say love, he says knowledge. He doesn't say love. His love immortal triumphs by his death is very, very appropriate for Christ. But this is, he is already writing down what is going to happen shortly. He will withdraw. His body is death. And with that withdrawal, what will triumph is knowledge. The knowledge is for mind in the physical. It is that which we work out from here. So that way, see, these 3 lines in the crucifixion description are significant, and you can see how seamlessly they have been interwoven into the entire passage. If you are not aware that these were added at the last minute, well, you would have just read them, you see. But that deliberate addition, see, in other words, he is also so alert to every description of Savitri. Sri Aurobindo is there, he is asking Nirodharan around that time, please bring the Book of Fate, the manuscripts of the Book of Fate. And the whole of Book of Fate was read out to Sri Aurobindo. And I was reading, particularly these passages, then he made these last minute additions, changes in the whole thing, you see. And when these additions were made, completed, then he asked again, Nirodharan, is there anything remaining? Means whatever he had to do as far as the book of fate is concerned was done. Was done. Is there anything remaining? And then Nirodharan said, yes, the book of death and the epilogue. In Savitri, these two books, book 8 and book 12, the book of death and the epilogue, they have remained practically in the same form which was written long, long ago. It had remained practically unrevised. And then when Nirodharan said these two books, he said, oh, we shall see about them later on. We shall see about them later on. And that later on was not supposed to come. They were supposed to be left as they were. Now he has trod with bleeding brow the Saviour's way. This is what is there earlier. He has trod with bleeding brow the Saviour's way, hewn, quartered on the scaffold as he falls. His crucified voice proclaims, now I am God, etc. That is as per what we have got in the biblical description also, you see. Now, when Sri Aurobindo has added those 3 lines, then Amal says that after this line, there should have been one more line. After this line, there should have been one more line. And that line is bound to the stakes and set aflame, or else hewn, quartered on the scaffold as he falls. The additional line suggested by Amal. Yeah, his knowledge immortal triumphed by his death. Okay, these 3 lines added. And then he says that there should have been this line additional, bound to the stake and aflame, or else hewn, quartered on the scaffold as he falls. His argument is, this line is kind of required, is necessary for the completion of the crucifixion scene. He is tied to the stake, bound to the stake, or else aflame, or else hewn, quartered on the scaffold. You have followed the point?
Yeah, but did you add it in the other edition?
It is not there. This is suggestion.
Ah, very good.
Yeah.
You don't,
Luckily, they have not put this thing in the revised edition.
Amal Kiran.
Amal Kiran. This is not, luckily, this is not put in a revised edition, you see, this line. No, I am just telling you, see.
If Bindu wanted it there, he would have said more.
No, his argument is in order to complete the crucifixion scene, he has trod with bleeding brow, Saviour's way, who has found, etc., etc., etc. Then he says, bound to the stake and aflame, or else hewn.
But from it's not literary viewpoint.
Yeah, it's a very big line. Yeah, it's true.
Just,
Yeah. See, basically, this is his argument is to make the famous particularity of Christ's crucifixion, the crucifixion of Christ, comprehensive generality. This becomes a comprehensive generality of the Saviour's way. This is what Amma said. But the subtle suggestiveness or the comprehensive generality would get a root shock with too pointed a reference. This is my argument. Too pointed. If you are making a too pointed reference to Christ, you see, you would get a shock, generality. Would get a root shock with too pointed a reference in such a mechanical way. This suggestiveness which is there, that will get lost. He is not describing Christ's sin. See, it is at a different way. He is using it.
It's just an example.
Yeah, exactly. He is using it, so to say. You see.
He's describing.
Yeah. Now, this is what Amal has written in his article in Mother India, April 1990. With this line, April 1990. But I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept that thing at all. It gives a root shock. You are making it so specific here that the generality, the universality is lost totally here, you see. And these lines here, he said that while Sri Aurobindo has dictated these lines, he should have also dictated this line.
Or something similar.
Yeah.
In letter on Savitri, written by Amal Kiran,
Yeah.
letters of Savitri, Amal Kiran proposed many
Yeah.
modifications to
Yeah.
Sri Aurobindo.
And Sri Aurobindo discarded that. Sri Aurobindo discarded that.
He refused three times.
Yeah, he refused. I think, I mean, in a certain sense, I will put it slightly differently also. See, for the sake of argument, even if Amal Kiran had an argument, had a point, Sri Aurobindo is not going to accept that. Even if he has a valid point, Amal Kiran, he is not going to accept it. Because obviously it means that Sri Aurobindo's inspiration, Sri Aurobindo's flows could have been shaped, changed, modified by other suggestions. So the best thing is knock off in the bud. No, I'm not going to accept, not going to accept. Even if you accept one thing, Amal Kiran says, I have done this thing, like that, you see. Corrections are possible in Savitri. Suggestions are possible in Savitri. That would have been you would have opened a door altogether for all kind of things, you see, suggestions.
Did Sri Aurobindo accept any
None.
suggestion? Oh,
A few.
This one thing.
but you say a few.
A few. Yeah.
No, he has not accepted at all. No.
He wrote somewhere, if I had accepted, if I remember well, if I had accepted a few of your suggestions, doesn't mean that I will accept
No,
more.
he has not accepted them.
No? But most of the
He
time,
wouldn't. He wouldn't. I mean, I will say from a very practical reason also, for a very for a very diplomatic reason also.
Or
Saying
maybe not for Savitri, maybe
yeah,
for
elsewhere it's okay.
maybe for
Yeah.
other ones. But in Savitri, it's
No, nothing. Then Yule, quartered on the scaffold as he falls, his crucified voice proclaimed, I am God. Yes, all is God. Peace back heaven's deathless call. Now, his sacrificed, crucified voice proclaims, I am God. Because of the identity he has with the Father. Identity. Yeah. That is what it means, you see, basically. Yeah. I am God. Yes. Voice God. Yes, I have become God. Like that, you see. But the God is not going to accept it. In the Bible, it doesn't say that. Sri Aurobindo says that, which is most important. The difference between the biblical description and what Sri Aurobindo says is the crucial difference. Bible starts with that. The identity, yes, he has merged, joined, or whatever you want to call it, with God. I have become God. And peace has returned to him. You see. But Sri Aurobindo gives a different turn to those passages. He says, yes, all is God. peals back heaven's deathless call. Deathless call. Yes, you have merged, you have identified yourself with the Father. What about the body? It has remained abandoned here. What about that? Yes, body is also God. And it is the deathless call of that body to do something. It is the call of the body to do something. You have merged, but you are hanging on the cross. Body, what about that? See, there is the triumph, there is the irony also in that whole thing, you see, in that sense. See, when we, in the Bible we have got, His crucified voice proclaims, I am God. There is in that an element of remorse, feeling kind of little sad, sorry like that, you see. Yes, I am God. I have to go back, something like that, you see. There is also an irony. What has happened to that thing, you see? Heaven's retort is to emphasize body as much as identity with God. Yes, all is God, peace back heaven's deathless call. Emphasis of the body as much as identity with God. The first part, crucified by, I am God, the identification is there, but what happens to the physical ear left back behind? Therefore, heaven refuses to accept his words, I am God. Yes, okay, all right, but what? You have to do this thing also. And therefore, immediately after that, we have got the seed of goddess lives in mortal hearts. That is why all is God, including the body. The seed of Godhead sleeps in mortal's heart. A flower of Godhead grows on the world tree. All shall discover God in self and things. But when God's messenger comes to help the world and lead the soul of earth to higher things, he too must carry the yoke he came to undo. He too must bear the pang that he would heal. Exempt and unafflicted by earth's fate, how shall he cure the ills he never felt? That is the truth. You have to bear the agony. The divine has to bear the agony. He covered the world's agony with his calm. But though to the outward eye no sign appears, and peace is given to our torn human hearts, the struggle is there, and paid the unseen price. The fire, the strife, the wrestle are within. He carried the suffering world in his own breast. His sins weigh on his thoughts. His grief is his. Earth's ancient load lies heavy on his soul. Night and his powers beleaguer his tardy steps. The Titan adversary is a clutch he bears. His march is a battle and a pilgrimage. Yes, his march is a battle. He has to fight at every step, but it is also a pilgrimage, a journey to God. Life's evil smites. He is stricken with the world's pain. A million wounds gape in his secret heart. He journeys sleepless through an unending night. Antagonist forces crowd across his path. A siege, a combat is his inner life. Even worse may be the cost, direr the pain. His large identity and all harboring love shall bring the cosmic anguish to his steps. The sorrow of all living things shall come and knock at his doors and live within his house. Well, this is what Savitri has to bear, basically. A dreadful cord of sympathy can tie all suffering into a single grief and make all agony in all the worlds his own. He meets an ancient adversary foes. He is lashed with the whips that tear the world's worn heart. The weeping of the century visits his eyes. He wears the blood-glued, fiery, scent-tossed shirt. The poison of the world has stained his throat.